How would Jamie react to seeing clips of you making jokes about him on MythBusters while he wasn't around? Did he always get mad, or did he always find it funny, or a mix of both? Jamie never revealed to me his emotional response ever to that stuff. But I want to make it really clear, I might have teased Jamie here and there. Actually, I might have teased him, but I never made him a fool in my teasing. That was really, really specific. Jamie was never the butt of the joke. You know, there are times when Jamie says Lexan is bulletproof, and then you find out it's not, then you just got to make narrative meat out of that, and just like, yeah, that's like shooting fish in a barrel. But honestly, the whole thing about the funny man, straight man dynamic is, if it gets mean, you're watching something else. And I was just really clear from the get-go that we kind of had a funny man, straight man dynamic, that it was real, and really specifically that, like, there was no way I was ever going to make Jamie the butt of a joke. He's the hero of every joke. He's the hero of all of my jokes. Absolutely. Like king, pimp, daddy, God's own prototype, weirdo genius, Heinemann. Absolutely. So besides that, he really, you know, sometimes I could tell he would be perturbed about a narrative joke made on the show just because he thought they made too much meat of him being wrong. But that's the most amount of emotion we ever saw, really. MobSpiderVA says, I was watching the Saw and Final Destination franchises for Halloween, and I noticed just how good they were for myths. Yeah, I watched the Space Needle opening scene from that Final Destination film. We were just saying, we have a Tested All Hands meeting every week, and this week I was saying to the assembled, I gotta watch all the Final Destination films. They look like they're endless amounts of fun, and every clip I've ever seen, and I've watched a lot of YouTube videos of them, look amazing. But what MobSpiderVA wants to know is, was there a reason you guys hardly did myths from horror movies? Well, yeah, it was a family show. Horror movies would be the anchor of MythBusters After Dark. But no, yeah, really, it's mostly that. It's mostly that. Like, if it's traumatic to describe something, it's probably not great to make television out of. Oh, yeah, like the new series that's up right now about Ed Gein, the serial killer. There are things within that story that are so awful, reading the Wikipedia page can be traumatic. There are sentences that you might speak in describing things Ed Gein did that you can never unhear. What were we talking about? Oh, why we hardly did myths from horror movies. It really is specifically that we didn't want to be too cruel. Yeah. No, that was it. Chris says they're 50. And they continue, they might be going through a midlife crisis, but sold their marketing business after 17 years as it was no longer fulfilling. Congratulations. They bought it for the 3D printer and started making prop replicas. They love the process of learning new skills and working with different materials. They want to see if they can make this a living. They have a fair bit of a head start of savings before the money runs out. What tips and guidance can you give to start making this into a proper business, one that I enjoy? Oof, 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 oof. That is a hard business, Chris Makes Props. Your best guidance into, so where do props, where could a living be made making props? In the movies, that's not probably where you could go. At 50, you're starting from scratch. That's going to be a difficult hire. Not to say it's impossible at all. But you got your own 3D printer, so you want to see if you can make a living making props for other people. That's a reasonable thing. Among the things I would suggest are reaching out to local places, dinner theaters, stores with display windows, folks that throw parties, and see about finding places where you can make things to service a market. But you want to make film props specifically, which is a really difficult market to service, man, because the people that buy those things, well, okay, I feel like your best example would be the way people do project runs on the Replica Props forum. So the Replica Props forum is the main forum I spend my time on in terms of prop replication, costume replication. Largely film-based, but not entirely so. The RPF has a junkyard for selling stuff. They also have a runs tab for people doing project runs. So for instance, there's a very wonderfully prolific member of the Replica Props forum named Relic Maker, and Relic Maker has made many, many prop runs over the years, and each of them is spectacular. The Relic Maker has recently made the Pink Panther diamond. Before that, they made I think they made one of the Golden Idols. They made the Hook from Captain Hook. They're always tackling these big swings. They often take a year or two to deliver. I believe they always make money doing them. They find a pipeline that can service out the props. They hire factories to build these things for them. But the main thing that typifies the difference between a successful run and an unsuccessful run on the Replica Prop forum is not delivery, it's communication. I have seen props take years to get delivered. I think there was a Kronos device that took years. Super happy to receive the final product. And nobody complained. I have seen project runs that took months and people got really salty about it. And all of that was based on communication. So what you might consider doing is finding a prop that you think, with the current experience you have, that you can replicate to a reasonable satisfaction, and then look at doing a project run on the Replica Props forum and solicit feedback. That is a great loop. As long as you've got the time and space to make sure you're going to deliver. I would recommend, in general, if you can afford to, don't take other people's money until you can send them the thing that they bought. There are a lot of folks that have done stuff where they've taken advance payments for project runs on the Replica Props forum, and then over years have been unable to either deliver the product or give the money back because it was spent on the infrastructure for making the product. There's some people that have gotten way into the weeds out there. And many times through no fault of their own, these can be deceptively difficult projects to implement. When you have something that has resin and metal and glue and electronics and lighting and graphics and applied graphics, like the number of tiny details that can get wrong or that can dissatisfy a customer, they get exponential. You're not looking to make a huge financial success, but one allows you to enjoy your lifestyle. Look, Ryan Norbauer is a great example of someone who entered the prop reproduction world and not very quickly, because they were making Star Trek props professionally for, I think, the better part of a decade. His replicas were really impressive right from the get-go because Ryan is that grown to deliver exactly what his brain wants him to deliver. That is like in his personality. If you saw the video of the Seneca keyboard, you'll know what I mean. And Ryan ended up making props for Roddenberry.com. Again, I'm not positive how lucrative that was for him. I can't imagine it was a highly remunerative living, but that's where that profession can take you. But that's where I'd start. I'd start trying to make a small run of things to satisfy a small customer base to your satisfaction and to find efficiencies to make a little dough. You've already been a business owner for a long time, so you have a lot of institutional knowledge about time and money sinks within a business. Those will apply to the physical making of things just as they did to your marketing business, I believe. Is it, my other question would be, is it replicas specifically, or are you interested in just making things for people? Because if you, and also, is it film replicas specifically? Frankly, Etsy is packed with some people making wonderful historical replicas. I've recently become obsessed with the Lowenmensch, the Lion Man from northern Germany. It's a mammoth tusk bone carving from 48,000 years ago, found in Ulm in northern Germany. And I've been picking up various replicas of it. And spectacular, what looks like a hand-sculpted replica on Etsy. And it's a lovely casting, well painted. I paid like 150 bucks for it, which for a resin casting, that's a very reasonable price. You could make money selling stuff like that. Again, don't violate anybody else's IP, please. I am not suggesting that you impede with anybody else's commerce, but I hope that advice helps Chris Makes Props. It's a really interesting question you ask. I'm still not positive about what I'm going to do when I grow up. And I make that joke all the time, but it's real, right? Like, this is totally a solid thing that we have going here. But like a couple of small changes to YouTube and all this could disappear overnight. Believe me, it's something we all think about all the time. It's on our minds not infrequently. Thank you for watching. I wanted to talk to you about Tested membership. The Tested members are a key community that we find really, really remarkable. That's very separate from Tested and from YouTube. The Tested members, they buy each other memberships during our live streams. So if you're wondering whether to become a member, watch one of our live streams and someone may just give you one. It is hard to overestimate how much the Tested members actually make possible on this channel. They give us a lot of wiggle room. They give us a huge amount of feedback.
That's a member right now.
Thank you so much for enjoying your membership. Link in the description for everything you need to know. And for all the members out there, thank you, thank you, thank you.